And if we go on paper and we look at the notes and the notes to highlight what for the college football playoffs, if we're highlighting what's expected in the college football playoffs here on 89.1 WIDR FM, you look at Michigan's defense in this Michigan-Alabama matchup. Michigan is first in yards allowed with 9.5, second in yards allowed from opponents with 239.5, sixth in team interceptions, and their defensive threats obviously are Michael Barrett, Rod Moore, and Will Johnson. You look at Alabama's defense, I'm not saying it's kind of less tiered than what Michigan has, but obviously the stat sheet shows what it says on paper. They're 18th in yards allowed with 18.4, 23rd in the country in passing yards allowed by opponents, 228 out of 386 attempted, 32nd in team interceptions. Their defensive threats obviously are Caleb Downs and Terrion Arnold. And then you look at that Michigan offense, everybody knows that Michigan offense just based off of what they can do on the rushing ground. They're 14th in the country in scoring offense, 39th in red zone offense, 11th in time of possession. And J.J. McCarthy is 6th in passing efficiency with 2,630 yards and 19 impressive touchdown passes. Their offensive threats come in the forms of both their running backs in Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards and Roman Wilson over on the slot, and they got Colston Loveland at tight end. But don't count on Alabama's offense yet, because obviously Michigan overpowers a lot of teams based off their run game. Alabama, 18th in the country in scoring offense. They're 7th in red zone offense. 50th in time of possession. Jalen Milroe, who used to play at the University of Michigan, is 4th in passing efficiency with 2,718 passing yards and 23 total passing touchdowns. Their offensive threats are Isaiah Bond, Jermaine Burton, Amari, Nick Black, and Kobe Prentice. And 7th in red zone offense is very impressive because they know once you're in field goal range, there's only one thing you really need to do. You need to score. You need to either get the field goal, get the touchdown, maybe go for the 2-point conversion depending on what the game is looking like, the outcome is looking like. And for Michigan to be so bottom in red zone defense, they really need to capitalize using Blake Corum, which I know they will. They'll capitalize using Blake Corum to on the goal line to get that touchdown, or they'll probably use Donovan Edwards to rush through, get the touchdown. Or J.J. McCarthy could take it in himself. Because what you see here with this matchup, you got two scrambling quarterbacks who I think are very impressive on their feet. Jalen Milroe can rush. He actually leads. Jalen Milroe is one of the leaders, and he's probably the leader in rushing yards on his team, because I'm not counting out their running back core, obviously. But Jalen Milroe is very impressive, just like J.J. McCarthy. So it's very exciting to see two rushing quarterbacks, a very good pair of wide receiving core, and they also have a very good offensive line. And that's the biggest question. Whose offensive line will perform the best? Because this is probably game of the century. I think they said Michigan, Ohio State in 2006 was game of the century. No, this is the game of the century, because I believe solemnly with all my heart, Alabama and Michigan, two of the greatest college football programs. This is like, what you see here, this is like if not the Patriots, think of a better example. This is like the Steelers versus the Cowboys. This is how huge this is. This is a really big game. I'm excited to see this game more slightly than I am to see Texas and Washington, which we're about to highlight their stats, because obviously Texas and Washington, both of those two teams, they have Heisman caliber quarterbacks. J.J. McCarthy, I'm not saying he is a Heisman quarterback, but I would personally rather take like J.J. McCarthy, Will Johnson. Guys like that is my Heisman coming out of Michigan. Obviously for Alabama, I'm taking Jalen Milroe, because I got a good take for y'all here on 89.1 WIDR FM. I think Jalen Milroe is the next Lamar Jackson. Don't be like, hey, Wheeler, man, you don't know about college football. You think Jalen Milroe's the next Lamar Jackson? See, I watch Jalen Milroe during games. He can throw effectively, but that boy can run. That boy can run. We're moving on to Texas versus Washington, and we highlight Texas offense. They're 16th in scoring offense, slightly out the top 5 in red zone offense, 23rd in time of possession, and their quarterback, Quinn Edwards, is 10th in passing efficiency with 3,161 passing yards and 21 passing touchdowns. Their offensive threats come in the form of Adonai Mitchell and Xavier Worthy. Washington's offense, 10th in scoring offense, slightly out the top 50 in red zone offense, outside the top 50 in terms of times of possession. But Michael Penix Jr. is 14th in passing efficiency with 4,218 yards and 33 passing touchdowns, which is one of the highest amount of passing touchdowns in all of college football. Their offensive threats come in the forms of Dylan Johnson and Rome Odunze. Texas defense, you look at Texas defense, they're 9th in team total interceptions, 6th in red zone defense. Their defensive threats come in the forms of Ethan Burke, Jaron Thompson, and Michael Taft. The Washington defense is 10th in team total interceptions, outside the top 50 in red zone defense. Their threats come in the form of Braylon Trice, Jabbar Muhammad, and Michelle Powell. And I'm really excited to see how this game really plays out because Washington, Texas, I think Michael Penix Jr. is slightly just behind LSU's Jaden Daniels for Heisman. I will take Jaden Daniels, obviously, to win the Heisman. I love Drake May a lot. There has been a lot of interesting and fun quarterbacks to watch this year. My favorite to watch is Jay. I like Jaden Daniels and all, but my favorite has been Drake May. I really feel like Drake May and what he's done for his team has been nothing but surely impressive. And I feel like that Drake May is going to be a very solid prospect in the NFL once he's drafted. And we look at the other New Year's Six bowl games. Number 9, Missouri is taking on number 7, Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl. Sorry, Dad. The Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl. Number 11, Ole Miss is taking on number 10, Penn State in the Peach Bowl. A battle of that defense because Penn State, everybody knows that Penn State defense is arguably the best in the country. Number 23, Liberty, who just earned this New Year's Six Bowl after Toledo just lost the MAC championship. They'll be taking on Bo Nix and number 8, Oregon in the Fiesta Bowl. And then the last of those New Year's Six Bowls before we move into the playoffs. Number 6, Georgia, who was eliminated from playoff contention by the Alabama Crimson Tide. Roll Tide. And they'll be taking on number 5, FSU in the Orange Bowl. And I get it. FSU fans are very upset. You know, their coach said he was infuriated. I was talking with my friend Tony. He's like, I've never heard that term in years. He was infuriated that they were left out of the playoffs. And the fact that FSU was left out, listen, I got to go with the committee on this one. This was the best. There was no better way to organize these last 4 teams to go in the playoffs. Because look at it like this. This is the last year we got to go through all this craziness because these last few years, since 2014 when this started 9 years ago, if you lose one game, you are out of the playoffs. And that's just like, man, that kind of sucks because you could go like 12-1 and still not get a playoffs. Or you can be, in the case of FSU, you can be 13-0. You're still not guaranteed to go to the playoffs. Depending on your conference play, depending on your strength of schedule, who's healthy, who's playing, what's your stats look like as a team, individual talent, Heisman, all of these good things. Did you win your conference? Did you win your division? All of these factors play a role in determining who's going to the playoffs. And I feel bad for FSU because, you know, it is politics. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, it's Alabama. And, you know, you telling me them beating Georgia, the defending national champs, they about to be left out the playoffs? Please. The committee can't even look at Nick Saban's face with a straight face and tell him, you guys are not going to the playoffs because Nick Saban will just fold his arms with his players behind him, folding their arms like they do when they're about to walk out the tunnel.